Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. It's my privilege and honour to introduce you to Taylor Reid.
Hey guys, nice to meet you.
Thank you so much. First and foremost, give us a bit of a synopsis around who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm Taylor Reid. I'm a professional triathlete from Guelph, Ontario. And yeah, I've basically been racing triathlon for about 10 years, I'd say. I went professional 3 years ago, and it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, like lots of ups and downs, but really cool.
Yeah. Run us through some of those downs, obviously, in your heavier moment. Everyone has their highs, everyone's got their lows. What are some of those big lows that stand out?
Mainly like injury. It's really like setbacks kind of idea. I've crashed a couple of times in races, so that really sucks. But in the grand scheme of things, it's just like if you have a poor performance, that's a low, but you bounce back from it pretty quickly.
Yeah, sounds good. Now let's track back to the beginning.
Yeah.
16 years old, getting into it. Like when was that sort of that pinnacle moment of when you realised that hey, this is something for me, and I'm gonna give this a real good go?
Well, I started running was like the first sport that I really got into. After I was very athletic as a kid. Like family was good with that. We did mountain biking, cross-country skiing, downhill skiing, so sort of like an athletic family. But eventually I started running, and that's where I really found my passion. I was probably about like 12, 13 years old, and then I got into a little club with C3, and they sort of pushed me into triathlon. And after that, I sort of discovered like it was a new challenge. I think that was what really drove me to it. So it was something different, something that I could actually like make a career out of. And the first goal was obviously to make the Olympics, like a lot of kids' dreams, especially when you're in a young sport. And eventually that dream didn't come to fruition, mainly because my strengths were towards the bike and the run, not the swim. And I found that there's actually the Ironman distance, which focuses mainly on you have to be a strong cyclist and a strong runner. The swim is important, but nowhere near as important as the ITU Olympic path.
Gotcha.
And I discovered that I could actually make a living out of it, and that's happened. So after university, I went into long course, and it's been a great ride so far.
Great ride. I see what you did there.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty good. Something like that though that you're in, you have to be competitive, don't you?
Yes.
You cannot enter something like this if you were just complacent.
You have to have a basic competitive mindset, and just the idea that you want to go out there and win and push yourself. Like that's really important.
Do you hate losing?
Yes, a little bit. When I was a kid, my brother doesn't like playing board games with me because I would I would get so angry when I lost.
Oh my god.
I would go almost to the point of like sort of flipping the board if I lost. I was like, it was no fun to have. I was a sore loser when I was a kid. I've become a lot better in that respect.
But that would be where you are right now in terms of all your wins, and just run us through your track record. What are you sitting at?
Right now I've got
3 golds.
Four wins, so 370.3 victories, 1 challenge, I think 8 podiums so far.
Wow.
2013 I was Canadian U23 National Champion, so
Gotcha.
It's been pretty good.
Yeah, sounds good. Now just run us through the commercial side of that. When you're winning a lot, the brands and sponsorship come to you, or do you seek that out?
It's a bit of both. I've had a bit of headhunting where some companies come directly to me. Now I have an agent, so that helps with that, sort of streamline it. But I've done a lot. There's a lot of time spent, especially as a younger athlete, when you haven't made your name, that you're reaching out to companies and trying to sort of get their attention, or at least show that your initiative.
Yeah, right.
So it's a very fluid conversation, and it's interesting.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. Is there any advice that you'd give to young up-and-coming athletes that are out there that you could give them?
I'd say never give up. There's always a way. It's very difficult, and also put yourself out there. Social media is really important, but you have to reach out to the companies and see who sort of locally might support you. Gotcha. Because it's sort of you start at the grassroots and then you become a global athlete.
Yeah, fantastic. Now I do want to get a little bit granular just in terms of when you are racing as such. Are there any of those moments that you're, just in terms of your body, your mindset, when things start to get really tough, and you're starting to break down, what are just run us through some of those tools that you're using to I guess give yourself the best chance to win. There must be many of those moments.
Yeah, there's many moments. Like this morning alone, the main set was basically 24 times 100 meters swimming. on 130, and the goal was basically to have your best average. So there was a lot of moments even in that set and pretty much every day where you have to sort of like find yourself and find out like how can I push myself to the next level. A lot of tools that I'll use is trying to like focus more on myself and how I can become better than the competition. Obviously, it's really important to have that competitive edge and like a buddy to work with, but it really comes down to you can't change anything that the other person's doing, so why focus on that? It's better to focus on the little things you can do. How can I make my technique a little bit better? How can I maybe like think a little bit different to like get ready? And then I like to look back at the workout and the race and say, okay, like what could I have done better? How can I make the next workout that much better? Could I have slept, gone to bed 30 minutes earlier? Could I have eaten something differently? In a race scenario, could I have tactically been smarter?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, so it's those small things like going to bed earlier, or what are some other small little tweaks and changes that
we can come down to equipment. So how can you make your equipment the most aerodynamic, fast as you can? How can you mentally prepare yourself? I'm reading a book right now. I believe it's how badly do you want it? So that's really getting into the mental side, which is really interesting. Obviously nutrition comes into it. It's all the little pieces because everyone's out there training hard. But how can you train smarter and harder than your competition?
Yeah, sounds good. Let's touch on that nutrition. So what does your daily diet look like?
Usually starts out with like a good oatmeal breakfast. So I like to throw in a little bit of protein there, usually yogurt. Go swim, always hydrating in workouts, maybe a little electrolyte. Then you grab like your kind of toast midday lunch, and then do your second workout, come back, usually it's say like 2 o'clock, grab a second lunch, and then do our final workout of the day, and then probably a snack dinner. So it's usually like, we're not trying to hit those like 3 big meals of the day. It's more like let's graze, let's eat throughout the day, and maybe have like 2 or 3 bigger meals, but it's always trying to get the food in.
Gotcha. And you're doing a meal before your big race?
I would usually,
a couple of hours?
Yeah, definitely be a couple hours. So our races start usually around 7 a.m. So I'm getting up 3 hours before the race, grabbing a big bowl of oatmeal. Like that's my race meal. Sometimes I'm like, I don't want to eat this, it's so gross. But I try and make it exciting.
Yeah,
exactly. Just porridge, porridge, water.
No banana, and then to mix it up.
Sometimes maybe blueberries to make it a little bit more tasty. But yeah, it's got to be simple for the race because your body doesn't like to. Obviously, nerves can get to, and like your digestion can be a little bit messed up. But then yeah, you use your race fuel. So like you fine tune that in other races and other like training events to find that, and then I'd say I'm eating roughly 350 to 250 calories an hour during the event, because our events take roughly 4 hours.
4 hours, wow. And you did touch on nerves just then. I do want to touch on that because that's a huge factor to it.
Yeah, I think
How nervous do you get, and then how do you manage the nerves?
Yeah, so I've definitely found through the longer 10-year career, if you look at me as a younger athlete, I would get very nervous. Every event was a big deal. Like I'd work myself up. Like I never got to as crazy as some of my buddies did, who would like practically throw up before events because they were so nervous.
Wow.
But it definitely took a lot of like, once you start to become more confident, I go into races knowing that I'm going to be competitive, and I'm just like, it's just another day at the office. Just try and think that. You don't try and make it this massive accomplishment and this massive event. It has to be as low-key as you can, and just think like, I've done the work, I'm ready to go do this.
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Exactly, yeah. Like you're gonna be nervous, but the less you can sort of bring it down, the better. Like all my best events, like that I come out with, have always been like I go in, I'm like I'm just here to do my best, like do my job. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fantastic. Now let's touch on just nutrition ever so slowly. So we talked about your meals and things like that. You know, are there any for athletes out there that are getting into it, any do's or don'ts in terms of meals? Lower carbs, higher protein intake?
Like a basic idea is like you want to remember that roughly you can only take in about 20 grams of protein per time. So you don't want to be basically going out there and jacking yourself up with lots of weights and then going and having this giant protein shake or this giant steak because you're actually not going to absorb it. So you have to spread out your protein.
Right.
Obviously,
are you using supplements at all?
Yeah, a little bit. Like I'd say it's just easier to get in a lot faster than actually making a meal.
Right.
Yeah, and then carbs are your best like bet when it comes to especially the endurance world. Like you need to be, that's your main fuel. So when you come back, like we usually have a pot of rice or at least like leftover rice always there ready. So when I come back from a workout, I can sit down and have like either toast or rice or pasta, but heavy carb, and then we sort of focus on the proteins.
Okay, very, very good. Now, just in terms of the, I want to touch on like the high intensity of what you're doing. I've heard that a lot of athletes go through different breathing techniques. Because obviously when you are at your peak, there is some diaphragmatic breathing involved. Do you get into that, or what's your take on it?
Yeah, like it's become definitely more natural now. So I've heard a lot of studies, people have said like breathing through your nose is helpful. Personally, I can't do that because I need more oxygen. But I have seen, breathe through the mouth. I like that.
You're breathing, right?
Yeah, I like breathing. I like oxygen. But yeah, like definitely you have to get your diaphragm working. Like stand up tall. We're actually working on, I've got a rolled shoulders from the time trial position that I do, so we're trying to get me to stand up taller and actually open up the rib cage a little bit more, even like horizontally and laterally than just opening it up forward.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's all a little bit of posture there, but yeah, breathing technique is really important, and just like keeping your breathing calm, because once you get to that point where you're like, then you're not actually getting the air in, where it's like you need to deep breaths, and like the more relaxed you are, the better probably breathing you're going to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the better performance you're going to have.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Bit of result, that makes sense. Now I know your girlfriend's here. I do want to touch on your personal life. That must be challenging in terms of maintaining, your social circles and things like that.
So
how do you maintain that?
Like luckily Ashley is very nice and like understands what I do. And she in her own way, she likes her own time, so it's good. Like it sucks that I have to leave for like months on end, but that's part of the job. So like I usually spend 5 upwards of 6 months out of the country racing. We've gotten to the point where she can actually come down to certain events and like actually come with me to races.
Oh, great.
And then my social circle is, I've built it around triathlon.
Of course, yeah.
So yeah, like a lot of my buddies, I switched coaches and locations to both, and my best friend actually works with that crew as well, so it was really nice to reunite with him. It's been about 3 years since we'd like sat down and actually trained together, so that was really cool. But yeah, like that camaraderie is really nice, and just like you have to build, just like anything, like someone who goes out and parties a lot is going to build their circle around people who do that.
Of course.
Whereas I'm going to build my circle
Law
around
of attraction.
someone. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's nice.
Yeah,
They
fantastic.
understand.
Let's talk about the Taylor in the future. Where do you envisage yourself in the next 10 years, and how do you think you're going to get there?
Probably 10 years if we look long term. Ironman's a possibility. So right now I do 70.3, which is half the distance of a full Ironman. And long term, I really hope for a world championship medal. Like that's the long term goal, sort of 3 to 5 years. Hopefully we'll see if I'm good at the Ironman distance, go into Kona and actually racing and doing well there. I've seen sort of the rise of Lionel Sanders, who's a ex-teammate and a good enough friend, so it's pretty cool to see a Canadian doing so well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it's basically making sure I am financially and mentally happy where I am and what I'm doing, and then also just moving my way up to making more podiums, more visibility, just becoming more of a superstar.
More of a superstar. Absolutely. Fantastic. Taylor, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming down there, and it's great to chat. Ladies and gentlemen, Let's Talk Health TV in association with fartv.com. That's Taylor Reid. Over and out. That's a wrap.